I got this idea from Tara TV and ISFL. Both their channels will be linked below in the description, so be sure to check them out. They're both really great players. That being said, let's get into the analyzing of the video. So 20 seconds, our Astro is going to use Collective Unconscious. This is basically just to put a passive regen on the Paladin for the incoming Minstrel Song damage. We're going to use a Sucker here to help also mitigate that. And then we're going to do an early AO swap. This is basically for the Fey Illumination for the deploy later on. And then we're going to try to bait a crit Adlo onto the Paladin. Doesn't crit, it doesn't really matter. It's just to help. Pot, Cleric, Miasma. On our first weave, we're going to do a Energy Drain X Cog onto the Warrior. This helps with the incoming downburst damage to top him back up. Place your Fairy in the middle. We're going to reprisal this Minstrel Song. After everyone's back in, we're going to use Whispering Dawn. This Whispering Dawn is kind of lackluster, as it only really affects the tanks here. Gives them a nice little regen effect for their incoming damage. Use Shadow Flare here. Make sure you hold it in your opener. It's very important that your Dragoon and Ninja does feint this, as it decreases healing GCDs needed, as well as also as healing needed on the tank. We're gonna just weave in Arouse here for that increased healing potency on Embrace. We're gonna slide out here, use a Sucker to mitigate the Minstrel Song, or Minstrel Shriek, sorry. We're also gonna have Troubadour used here. With this Bio Weave, we're gonna do a Sacred Soil into Largesse. Largesse will increase any of the incoming Suckers and Adlo's potencies. With the second Sucker, we're gonna use Covenant during it. Use Miasma to get that dot rolling again, and then another Sucker on this third Sucker. Adlo should be put on the boss, as well as using Fey Illumination. After this third Sucker, we're going to target the Fairy with Adlo. Do a Miasma 2 Lucid Dreaming Deploy Weave. At this point, we have Shake, Veil, Troubadour, Adlo, and Covenant up. On 4.4, you can also have Passage of Arms here, as it'll be greatly used, since you will no longer lose potency doing it. It's good to note, if this Adlo does crit, you do not have to do any healing after this friction. If it does not crit, the Astro has to do a Helios after the first Super Cyclone. Sorry about that, my movie software crashed. Where we left off was we're at the second friction. We're heavily mitigated, as you can see. This friction is going to do minimal damage to us. Like you can see, 152, that's without a crit Adlo. It's pretty strong. It's very important that the person that goes in to cleanse first goes in right away so we can get healing done. We're going to weave an Endom, and then if it was not a crit Adlo, there's going to be a Helios. If it was a crit Adlo, this Helios will not be here. It'll just be the Endom. And ignore the second one and keep DPSing. You don't have to worry about healing yet. After she flies away, we're going to do a Sucker. We're going to do a Bio and then Miasma. If you do Miasma, it's very important that you do Bio and then Miasma when putting your dots back on the boss, because if you do Miasma then Bio, you're going to run into a problem that you'll see later on. Here we're going to do a Energy Drain and then Whispering Dawn. The Whispering Dawn combined with the Collective will top us back up before the double Minstrel Song line AoE, without any GCD heals needed. As you can see, we're ticking for like 6k a piece. You'll see Cleric come back up right here. You see Cleric comes up right here. We're going to delay a GCD, delay it by a GCD. The reason we're delaying is because we're holding it anyways later on, so you might as well use it to, you might as well weave it with Miasma 2 to move from the feathers, as well as putting Fey Union on the Warrior. As you see here in a second, Miasma 2, Fey Union Cleric, and move. Boom. This lets you get 6 GCDs under Cleric stance more easily with no interference like slide casting. Your Warrior's going to drop really low here. Make sure he has awareness. He has Fey Union, Whispering, Collective. That Collective is extended. So he's going to drop to 6k, which is really, really low. So if he gets crit autoed at all here, he's dead. So make sure you have awareness on right there. Also, when the DPS get back to the boss, make sure they put feint on it for those auto attacks. And right here, if we scroll back just a little bit, you'll see what I mean by putting bio first. You can see we're casting Miasma as the line AoE goes out. Boom. And while the screech happens, bio. And then the bio comes up right as you're moving from the screech, which is why it's perfect. It also lines up with your Aether Flow. So you can do Aether Flow energy drain and get to the boss's melee range. It's very important that you're in the boss's melee range here. And that's because you're going to need to do get rid of 6 things. You need to get rid of 3 Aether Flow stacks, a Shadow Flare, a Dissipation, and then an End All. You need to do those 6 things in this little time period. So what we do is we get rid of the energy drain while we're weaving Aether Flow with bio. That's 1, so we're down to 5. We need to get rid of 2 more Aether Flow stacks. So what we're going to do is we're going to do Miasma 2, Energy Drain, Swift Cast, Broil 2, Swift Cast, or Shadow Flare, Energy Drain, and we're down the Energy Drain to 2 Aether Flow stacks and the Shadow Flare. And so we'll do a hard clip on the Dissipation right here. And then while using Miasma 2, we'll do an End On. And then Excog on the Warrior. It's very important you Excog the Warrior as he's going to drop very low. It's also very important that the caster in your group apox one of the DPS grabbing the tether, as he will die without any shields. You can do a sucker here, but since this is like an optimization scenario, the apoc is significant enough to negate using a healing GCD. So that's what we do. Slide cast out. It's also very important that any scholar watching this dissipates in Garuda. There's no reason not to dissipate in Garuda, as it's a free 2400 MP and it's free 450 potency. As you can recast your fairy during the Ifrit transition, you should be doing this. This should be mandatory. There's no reason for you not to dissipate here in any scenario. That's pretty much Garuda. That's literally the hardest part of healing this fight, honestly. That's why it's took so long for such a short period. We're gonna precast Sucker here. Pop Sprint. Get ready to run. As soon as we get to the spot, we're gonna hard cast our summon. Now onto Ifrit. Ifrit is indeed like the easiest part of this fight to heal. Requires minimal healing. Once we get back to the boss, we're going to do our opener, Miasma, do a bio with a Energy Drain Largesse Weave, and then a Miasma 2, Change Stratagem Energy Drain Weave. Use Whispering Dawn here to top us back up, or help top us back up after the Hellfire, and also use Shake It Off here to negate the healing needed for the Vulcan Burst knockback that he does. If you don't have Shake, you have to do a Sucker, but we don't want to do that, so we have Shake here. Shake will also be back up for the Fireball stack, so we have no need to worry for that. Here we're just going to do our opener, hit the boss. Paladin's going to hollow ground here. Use Fey Illumination on cooldown. Ready to deploy. Cast Adlo on your fairy or the tank if they have Conva. Do a Miasma 2, Lucid Dreaming, deploy. Deploy actually didn't want to go off here in this clip, so we're going to have to do it the next GCD. It's very important that we also have this collective right here. This collective is very important because it will give us a regen to top us back up for the nail explosions. It also gives the main tank, which is Hu at this point, after he shirks him, a regen that's very strong. And we have to manually embrace pop this veil. And that's about it for here. Also feint the boss for those reduced auto attacks. So here, like, the deploy didn't go off, so I have to hard clip it. Then I have to hard clip my Aether Flow as well. We'll use bio here to weave in the Shadow Flare that we held. It's very important that you hold the Shadow Flare as it's very effective AoE damage. Use it on these 2 nails and Ifrit. You can also weave an Energy Drain here. Do Miasma Swift Cast Rouse. It's very important. I want to stress this very, very badly that you should not use Swiftcast in prog. If you're going to do this part, do Ruin 2 or something, you should not be doing Swiftcast. It's very important in prog, and if you're using Swiftcast and your team is still struggling on a certain phase, then you're basically trolling them, and that's not good. So once we get back to this wall, we're going to place our fairy in the middle of the arena, but instead of the middle, it's going to be slightly north, and this is very important. I know I'm saying this is very important a lot, but it's very important that the fairy is in the middle but slightly north, so that when you use Fey Covenant, it hits you. A lot of scholars I see don't do this and they miss their own Fey Covenant, but it's really important because if you have Searing, you're taking a lot of damage, a lot more damage than everybody else. So we'll use Fey Covenant here and it'll hit me. Nails will explode in a second. First one will do 0. Second one does 8k. Veil wasn't popped in this clip, it usually is popped. That's why we took 8k. I actually also do an Adlo on myself. You don't do this. Don't do this if you have a crit Adlo. You shouldn't need to. You're going to walk in, use Ruin 2, and Dom, and get ready for the Hellfire. Do Precast Sucker. So get ready to move your fairy to the spot where the boss is being pulled. In our case, it's this one marker right here. We're going to use Whispering Dawn, and Whispering Dawn paired with Aspected Helos should be enough to top everyone off before the fireball. That nail part was the hardest part about healing this phase. So what we're going to do here is we're going to have our bard use a Physical Troubadour. Here it is, Physical Troubadour. We're also going to do a Miasma 2 Aether Flow Fey Union Weave onto the warrior. This Fey Union, it lasts around 33 seconds. It basically takes care of the warrior for the rest of this part of the phase. It's very strong. Warrior needs no special attention. As you can see here, it basically keeps him nice and tidy. You Shadow Flare here, if you push fast enough. You're gonna lose some ticks on it, but you're holding it anyways. Or I should say you're holding it anyways if you don't use it here. And as you can see, the warrior wasn't even close to dying and we still have Fey Union left over. So we're gonna go ahead and cancel that. Right here, you're just gonna dodge these. You can physic yourself to top you off. You can also give the warrior here an Adlo. At the time, we weren't doing this, but right now, after the changes we made after this video, we're now going to Adlo the warrior so he doesn't have to use Vengeance here, and he can use Vengeance in the Titan opener so he doesn't have to use Inner Beast. Some of our strats are still prog based, however, like, we don't want to change anything too suddenly, so we're going little by little, changing things, and then, you know, everything will be fixed eventually. But now as we get into Titan, we're going to want to do a largesse to buff the incoming sucker. What I like to do here is I like to look at the chat box. When the little loading time circle in the chat box looks like this is a good time to sucker. Also, you want to place your fairy a little more north on the map. I like to use this little marker for an example and place them there. The boss will always spawn in the middle facing south, so keep that in mind so you can pre-position your fairy every time. Precast your sucker, he'll fall, sucker will go off before it's targetable, Aspect of Helios as well, and your paladin will pop Veil. It'll get procced by that. Bio first GCD, so you can weave chain first GCD. You don't want to use chain first GCD if you're not going to get more than one. However, if you have the possibility to get two, then you should always do it. Miasma 2. You're going to use this Miasma 2 as a chance to weave Fey Union onto the warrior for the tank buster. And then you're going to also have one of your Dragoon or Ninja use Feint here. Prazzle that Earth and Fury as well. This Whispering Dawn will basically just raise our HP pool for the jump coming up. Rule of thumb here, if your Cleric stance or Shadow Flare does not come up within 3 GCDs of Titan landing, It is not worth using past that point, as it's just a loss. So hold on to them. Titan jumps, you're gonna go to the safe spot. You're gonna precast sucker, and while you're precasting your sucker, you're going to place your fairy at the spot where you stack after the jail is broken. So precast here, Titan falls, place the shadow flare that I didn't use yet. Bio, right here I make a mistake. As you can see, Aetherflow comes up while my bio is still like the GCD is still rolling. I should have just took the clip here because I'm gonna have to hard clip it anyways. So I do miasma, hard clip, and if I didn't do that, I would have gotten this third GCD. However, I didn't. You should always be able to get the 3 GCDs here: bio, miasma, and miasma 2. However, do that mistake, I couldn't. You're gonna get knocked back. Sprint, rune 2. Rune 2 again because I got marked, so I have to position myself. Always try to rune 2. If you're doing mechanics and you're trying to focus on the mechanic, it's worth it. Like, it's better than not doing anything, right? So rune 2 to get back to the party. Cleric stance. You're gonna want to use Covenant here. Covenant for the tumults always. Minimizes the damage. What we're gonna do is we're gonna Indom and Star here. This will basically take care of this little mechanic here. All this damage. No GCD heals needed. Rouse. Whispering Dawn to top us for the next jump. We're going to slide cast out of that and slide cast back in. So for the second half of Titan, we're going to switch over to this more recent clear because we're doing a more optimal strat. Might as well show the more optimal strat in this analysis video. In my opinion, boss is going to jump. You're going to place your fairy into the middle. And we're going to do a precast sucker. We have the Astro Collective here for a regen on the tanks, as well as topping the party before tumults. Feign unit on the main tank. We get marked here, so we'll place our shadow flare before we get marked. We're jailed. We just wait to be broken out. We have our Astro place Star at this time. The Star will be popped in between the 6 tumults. If the Astro does not get jailed, the Astro will be able to get a Stellar Explosion off. If he does get jailed, it'll only be a Stellar Burst. You have reprisal on some of these tumults. And how we handle this tank buster now is we have the Paladin use cover on the warrior. We have the Paladin pop Sheltron, Sentinel, and Rampart. We also have Feint and reprisal on the boss. This completely nullifies the damage here. As you'll see, he'll get hit by 10k at first, then he'll get hit by a 30k attack. It's funny because the Excog I put on him just for safety didn't actually proc, which means you can get away with 0 healing needed on the tank here because the cover will wear off eventually, and the auto attacks won't be able to kill him in time. So we do the uptime strat here. We do right, left. We wait for line sliding to left. As you can see, I actually keep casting Broil, so it's very possible to keep casting your Broil here. It's just a matter of lining your GCD up to do it. You can also use Chain Strat here if your DPS is a little on the lower slide. However, as you can see, if I were to use Chain, I wouldn't have it back up for the Ultima opener. So we push the boss, do precast sucker. Get rid of your stacks here, because you're going to refresh them. We have the Astro LB. I don't really think it matters who LBs. We just hit La Habrea. Our Paladin messing around over here, hitting his passage of arms way early. Do a sucker for this Ultima. We have our Astro Collective here as well. This collective is kind of good because you get to save your MP from topping people off, as if he just holds this collective. Eventually people will be topped before anything even matters. So here we have the Paladin do an early Veil, which I highly recommend if you're not doing the predation mitigation strat. The reason this is so good is because the lenient cooldown on Divine Veil is basically you have 30 seconds to pop it, and then you have 30 seconds till you have to take damage to mitigate the shield. So I would highly recommend doing it very early here, so you get an extra use right before Annihilation. Let's use it there. Maybe just wait for Garuda to appear. When Garuda appears, we're going to do a Sucker. So we're going to get the Tank Purge. We're going to do an Adela on both tanks. If it crits, I usually call it out. I didn't get a crit here. I try to go for a crit on the Paladin, but I don't get it. And here we're just going to do the normal third GCD Chain Strategy opener. Whispering Dawn, first GCD. You shouldn't need anything besides the star. The star usually takes care of this whole part right here. You don't need Excog or Fade Union or anything. We have APOC on the Paladin here. He takes care of the Rampart and Sheltron. If you have to, you can manual embrace the main tank here. I don't have to though because Stars just takes care of it. It's predation, normal predation strat. We don't do the mitigation strat. I don't really recommend doing it unless you're in Prague, or you just don't care about your DPS. If all 8 of your members can do it successfully, like consistently, then there's no point in wasting all those resources because it does cost a lot of resources trying to mitigate it. Here, do Rouse. Get the largest for the Adela deploy coming up. Veil Illumination. Do Whispering Dawn. Deploy. Shadowflare Weave. The Astra will do a collective here. This collective is just the regen and kind of helps mitigate some of the tumults for the server tick. Our Astra also has Star down, so we have collective and Star. This here alone is enough to basically solo heal the tumult plus shriek. If we don't get a crit Adlo, we have to do an Indom here. But if we do get a crit Adlo, we don't do anything. So we see I do an Indom here. Star pops after the 7th tumult. And because we have Minuet here, and I would highly recommend this Minuet as it's very powerful. We don't have to soil. Using soil heal is bad because not only does it cost the 150 potency and 1200 MP to use it, it also costs to clip into some of your Shadow Flare, which isn't good. During prog, this doesn't matter, but if you're seriously trying to optimize, then this Minuet is probably one of the best Minuets you can do. See, the Dragoon barely lives. If we didn't have soil there or Minuet, the Dragoon would die because he has blood for blood up. If the Dragoon doesn't blood for blood, or if you don't have a Dragoon, this doesn't actually matter. The collective is still ticking. We have our Paladin actually hollowed there. Hollowed the Tank Buster plus the Vicious Aetherplasm. As you see, pop solid. He pops Veil here. This lets it come back up before the Aetherplasm. We don't solo here. We actually don't even do anything besides Indom. After the Flaming Crush hits, we Indom here. We didn't get marked for Searing, so we're going to stay on the boss. Place the Fairy in front of Ultima, so we can get ready for that Whispering Dawn. Dodge, place your Shadow Flare. We have Shake It Off, Adel, and Reprisal here. while the boss is teleporting, use an add low on the main tank. If you are doing a late push here, or you're not pushing as fast as us, you want to do an XCOG Fey Union Weave onto the main tank. This will basically keep them topped throughout the whole post-annihilation exchange. Redo our openers right here. I don't think we got the Radiant push here. Yeah, we didn't get the Radiant plumes here. So we're going to push. Do a largest sucker for the suppression minstrel songs. Tanks are going to take. And then do the usual suppression strat. I get jailed here, so I'm going to take the tether. I didn't get the searing and annihilation, so I'm going to take the tether. I'll do a sucker before I leave. Run with the tether. Do a sucker endom as soon as it goes off. I'm going to put it down to soul for the Ultima. You can soul the tank purge if you want. So when Ultima gets back, you're going to do a little opener. Put down a solo for the Ultima, as well as Covenant for it. So as Ultima hits, get ready to do a deploy off either the tank or the ferry. So we deploy here. First Etheric Boom, we're going to have Shake, Veil, LB1, Covenant, and APOC onto the Paladin. You don't need LB1 here if you're using Veil. However, this is just kind of like prog strats, so we haven't really adjusted too many cooldown usages in Final Phase aside from healing. XCOG the Warrior, or the main tank. After you get this ball, you're going to slide cast your way up to the front of the arena. Here, you want to Fey Union the main tank. On this pole, I guess it didn't go off. As you see, we have Veil here. We don't normally have this, so I'm not really going to talk about it too much. We're going to do a sucker for the incoming Vicious Aetherplasm. And this is a zero soil primal dance optimization. So if you're not doing a optimized run, you're going to do soil for first and third ultimates. So here, just going to slide cast our way to the safe spot. Precast, start casting sucker before the plasm hits. As you see, sucker will land after it hits, and do an endom. This should be enough to top you for the ultimate. As you can see, our Asher did Helios there. He didn't really need to, but then this is our first time attempting this strat, so he did it for safety. Very important that your Bard uses Minuet here at the very last second before the primal ultimate hits. This way it hits 2 ultimates. Asher uses Collective here just as for the region to top us up before the incoming Plasm and second primal ultimate. In this case it'll be Garuda. Whispering Dawn here, sucker as well after the ultimate hits for the Plasm. We're not going to do any healing here aside from a sucker. The Asher's going to take care of it. So again, we're going to do a precast sucker. Sucker hits after the Plasm. Asher does an Helios. Theoretically, you shouldn't need a Helios here, as the regens should be enough to top us off if you extend the collective properly. After the second primal hits, Earthly Star. Here, since the Fey Union didn't go off in the start, I'm going to Fey Union XCOG the main tank. Because it's Titan, you can either hold your GCD and slide cast out after the Plasm, or you can use a Swift Cast Sucker. In that case I did. We're going to do a Sucker Endom to help top us off. You shouldn't need to do the second Sucker that I'm doing, but because again it was for safety, I shouldn't need to do it. As you can see, our Asher pretty much took care of it there. And again, this is zero GC or zero soils. Hopefully this video was informative to you in some way. Again, you want to use Fey Union at the start rather than the end, but because I forgot and it didn't go off, I didn't really notice it until it was too late. And this is just the primal opener, or primal ultima opener, reopener. Let me go check real quick if I missed anything. So again, this is basically 4 sucker primal or 5 sucker primal dance, 0 soils, 2 endoms, 2 excogs, and a Fey Union on the main tank is really the resources you're going to use here. I'm going to backtrack even further. So let's go to Annihilation to check. So again, if you don't push fast, you're going to do Fey Union excog in the main tank. It's fine. Sucker for this. This is just an endom. No soul needed. I do actually excog the warrior here. I forgot to mention this when I got here before, but I actually do excog him, as you can see right here. You don't have to do this, but this was because this was a weekly clear. I didn't want to take too many risks here, just in case he did die. That's why I did it. That shouldn't be an issue though if you're optimizing, but again, this is a weekly clear and mistakes do happen. Deploy here. It's basically an Ultima. I don't think I missed too much. I think I actually got everything I needed to talk about. Very sorry, this is a little sloppy. Again, this is my first time ever doing a video even like this, so hopefully it was informative to you. I might do something like this for the next final Savage fight if this gets like kind of good reviews. Try my best to stop like kind of stumbling onto my words, because I noticed a few times throughout this video that I kind of like either said or I just like took a long pause in between like a sentence. Not really used to doing like non-stop talking trying to review a video like this, so I apologize for that, and I will see you guys later.